Hey everybody, it's Jason Blaha here, and today I'm going to make a statement that I think people who have followed me for a really long time are going to say, oh my God, Jason, I can't believe you of all people would say that. And that is the fact that if novice lifters all just went ahead and just learned how to do the hook grip and adapted to it in their first year of training, they would set themselves up for better success as lifters and even athletes in the long term. And I know that's a statement that coming from me is shocking because 5 years ago, had I heard someone say that, I probably would have laughed. Because you guys know my stance on that. You say, oh, I don't know, the hook grip is just not worth it, blah, 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 blah. You know, I said stuff like that, defending my mixed grip on the deadlift. But you know what? There comes a point where as we get older and wiser and more experienced, and in this case, in my 40s now, I've come to take different views on different things in training, and some of that that's kind of the funny part. I used to be very pro isolation movement for weak points, even for athletes, right? My stance now has changed. I've come to realize, observing over the years, reading the data, everything else, I think most isolation movements are more or less, most, not all, more or less a waste of time. It's another perfect example. It's a perfect example of just becoming more mature as a lifter and just realizing certain things and just letting go of certain ideas that maybe don't serve people anymore, no matter how much of a tradition they've become. And when I say that with the hook grip, I'm saying this as I've been learning the hook grip, and that's why I've got footage of me practicing my deficit deadlifts with a hook grip, because I do that every day. And there's some reasons that I say that this is the case. And a lot of it is there's been a big resistance even in powerlifting, for people to, we'll just use the mixed grip and whatever hook grip is too much hassle because we've got to do the heaviest lift. Deadlifts are toughest on the thumbs on a hook grip of any lift. But here's the thing. When you start talking about hook grip, you always find guys every now and then who will come in your comments and you meet people who say, you know what? I was just taught to hook grip early on because I came from whatever background, right? Because my football coach in high school made us learn the clean and the snatch. Or whatever the reason is, it's like I've always just hook grip from day one and it was never a problem for me or never that painful because I had to start with it light and it just adapted as my strength grew. And so for me, I never went through the pains of learning it. I just kind of built the calluses on my thumb and I've always done it. I've never pulled a deadlift anyway but a hook grip. I've never used a mixed grip because I started off with the hook grip and I just adapted and it's fine. I don't even think about using any other method. And that's interesting. People say, well, why does that matter? Well, it matters for a few reasons. Because it sets you up for success on multiple lifts and it gives you a real advantage. I mean, let's take the deadlift, for example. A lot of these guys who start with the hook grip because they do other pulling that's not hook grip rows and other things, they develop grip strength, but because they start with the hook grip from day one, they just always have it to work with on the deadlift. It never occurs to them to even bother with a mixed grip because they already have something that we know works. I mean, we know that like Callier Woolen, he pulls over 900 pounds with a hook grip, world record holder. We're seeing more and more power lifters switching over to the hook grip for even competition because they're realizing it has advantages over the mixed grip. What I mean by that is advantages. We're not just talking about injury rates. We're talking about the potential for more even strength distribution on the pull. You guys think maybe that's worth more poundages on the platform? And more evenness in the pull, more hypertrophy potential for balancing your left or right side, better overall potential because you can fully engage both sides of the back and the traps and everything equally. Well, that's going to give you overall better potential for size gains, muscle gains, in addition to the lower injury risk. And people say, well, it could dislocate your thumbs. Guys, I don't feel anything in my thumb joints. I'm hook gripping every day over 400 pounds every day. Or 6 days a week, right? I don't feel pulling on my thumb like that. It's all skin. 100% of the pain is skin and muscle in the middle of your thumb. It's not pulling on the joint like you guys think. It really isn't. And if that's the case, you got guys hook gripping like Callier over 900 pounds. You see him dislocating a thumb or ever complaining about that? So if he can do 900 pounds and his skeleton handles that without pulling the thumb out of the socket, that's not a concern. For you guys who are only going to do 500 pounds probably ever, be realistic. But we come with advantages there. Also, they never even really think about the strap thing for the most part. They're not having to waste time with any of that because they just have the hook grip all the time. And it sets them up for better success on the deadlift. It really does. Because if you just develop it from day one, you don't go through the same pains because it's gradual. If it takes you an entire year to get to a 400-pound deadlift from the day you walk into a gym, if you start hook gripping with 135, over that year, you just develop all of that naturally without dealing with a lot of the pain and discomfort and the stuff that people have to go through. Because I went through that, and mine still hurts a bit, and I have days where it does. But I mean, I've seen at least one guy admit he did mixed grip and then switched to hook grip after he got to a 700-pound deadlift, and he said it took him 4 months before the pain wasn't excruciating. And that's everyone's big concern. That was my big concern with not learning the hook grip, right? Is that the pain threshold of it. It's like I have to put myself through additional pain every time I pull for this for a long time to get used to it. For me, it was several weeks. And we don't do it because of that. But if people just learned it as a novice, they actually completely skip that hardship. They never really go through it to the same extent. What else does it do? It sets you up to be able to clean and snatch and do these other Olympic lifts and explosive lifts successfully easier up front also, because the hook grip is what most Olympic lifters use. They use the hook grip for these lifts because it gives them an advantage in it. So if you're just set up for that already, it becomes easier to just go ahead and learn to get through the learning curve on some of these lifts. And people say, well, why would I want to do those? Because of the performance potential. I mean, if you want to be more athletic, and that's something people need to think about, even if you're at the gym for body composition, if you're going to be in shape and dedicate a big chunk of your lifestyle to fitness and training, for a lot of you, think about that. Even if your goal is looks, wouldn't it be nice to be a little more athletic with the looks, right? Wouldn't it be nice? Maybe if you could, jump a little higher, run a little faster, be a little more explosive. You're already training. You're already fit. Is it really going to hurt you to get a little more athletic? It's kind of a side perk. And people who learn the hook grip early on, if they just start with the hook grip immediately, they learn these lifts easier because their grip situation is already there. If you're just hook gripping from day one, a lot of the problems associated with these lifts are just gone. It just sets you up for success on learning these lifts. And I think this is a real solution here, something that we need to think about. And all of us need to think about. Those of you who are trainers, who are coaches, when we consider that every single negative that we have about the hook grip involves the learning curve of it and the discomfort of it for people who already have a strength base started, of having to lift a heavy weight now, that would go away if you just taught your clients and your athletes and everyone to hook grip from day one. This problem would actually go away. The negatives of using it disappear. And they're now set up from day one to be more successful. It's because you've taught them something that's going to be invaluable 5 years down the road, and you just incorporated it immediately. And I'd really like to see that pushed more. I would love to see that pushed more. And it's a stance I'm starting to take of saying, hey guys, just go ahead and learn the hook grip. Trust me, you're going to be better off for it. And people say, well, I'll just wear straps. I'm a recreational. Yeah, but if you just learn the hook grip from day one, it's going to give you other options, and it's not going to require more training. That's the other thing that you've got to factor in. It's not going to detract from your training in any way. If you just learn it immediately when you're weak starting out from day one, it doesn't add any extra hardship or time in the gym or anything else that you really have to deal with. Maybe you'll have to take a little better care of the skin on your hands and thumbs early on. That's it. There is no detraction. And you might decide one day you don't want to be a recreational lifter. You might decide one day you want to compete in powerlifting or strength lifting or weightlifting, even at an amateur level. You might decide you want to learn these other lifts down the road. Maybe you don't want to clean and snatch from day one, but maybe you're going to want to later. And if you just started using the hook grip on your deadlift immediately, it's going to make your learning curve easier down the road. it's going to give you advantages. It's not costing people anything to do it early on. It's just like learning anything else as far as proper training. If we just started incorporating this as something noobs just were taught as part of all basic programs, it would actually resolve a lot of issues. They would be better off for it. And it's, just an idea, guys. All right, guys, but that's really all I have to say on that today. I hope it's been informative, and I will talk to you guys next time.